Welcome to another episode of Devil May Guide. Last time I explained how to beat Phantom, both of his fights and the chase sequence, but I also forgot to mention one last thing, and that's that Phantom has a meteor shower attack in his second fight. It somehow didn't happen for me in the footage I was recording, but it's really not that tough to avoid, and honestly you might get hit even once, but I think you'll be fine. Today though, we're going to be moving on to the second boss of Devil May Cry 1, Nelo Angelo. Honestly, in my personal opinion, I think this guy is easier than Phantom, because unlike Phantom, whose hitbox is on specifically his face or his back, Nelo Angelo's weak point is his whole body, so you'll have an easier time hitting him. For this fight though, just like Phantom, you really don't need anything, just the default moves work here, and the only move I'd recommend is Stinger for closing gaps, but I wouldn't really say it's an absolute necessity. And just like last time, spoiler warning. Very big spoiler warning. This is covering every single fight with Nelo Angelo, including the third fight. So if you finished the first fight and haven't gotten to the second or third ones, I really suggest that you click off now. But Nelo Angelo is super simple and easy to fight, so let's just get into it.
This stinking hole was the last place I thought I'd find anyone with some guts.
With Nelo Angelo, you don't really want to move far from him. You want a good, balanced distance away from him, and the reason I say this is because one of his attacks is conjuring up an orb to throw at you. You can easily jump away from this orb, but I recommend jumping towards Nelo Angelo as he sends it out. When he sends out this orb, that's when he's most vulnerable. Hell, if you're close enough, you can stop him from shooting the orb altogether. For the combo you want to use with your sword, any of them really work, but I prefer the million stab one since it does some decent damage and is pretty effective for this fight. Make sure you're also using Devil Trigger to stack on more damage. And speaking of Devil Trigger, when Nelo Angelo starts blocking your attacks, Dante won't get knocked back, so you can keep bulldozing Nelo Angelo. And this is why I prefer the million stab combo, because more likely than not, you'll still be in the animation while Nelo Angelo is trying to attack you, since your million stab overrides his attack. It's like being plus in a fighting game, but your monkey-brained opponent is still mashing, so you come out on top. Think of it like that. Before he starts guarding, he'll sometimes let you wail on him, and other times he'll go straight into blocking. And you might think that without DT you're screwed. When this happens, do cross up and jump over and behind him and do a helm breaker, or some other sword move. His back is still vulnerable while he's blocking. As for his other attacks, they can all be avoided with a well-timed jump. Your window for jumping is pretty generous, so just make sure you aren't too early, and also too late. You want the perfect middle ground. This idiot will also taunt after doing a successful attack, so he's vulnerable during that too, and chances are you'll probably get knocked back a decent amount, so if you have Stinger level 2 somehow, then you can close the distance. At least for this fight, once you got into a certain part of his health bar, he'll start teleporting to different parts of the arena while taunting you. Obviously you just want to go there, but do be prepared because he won't waste any time to strike you where you stand. But the same idea applies. When Nelo Angelo is vulnerable, just rail on him. If he starts guarding, just hit him from behind. Once this routine is repeated, Nelo Angelo will get a migraine in reaction to Dante's amulet and storm off. That's everything for this first fight. It's really not a bad boss, honestly. It's actually pretty fun. You don't really need any devil stars for this, and I hope you're keeping them, by the way. Nelo Angelo is honestly one of my favorite bosses from Devil May Cry, but Let's move on to his second fight. Now, just like with Phantom, nothing's really changed about this fight. The only difference is the arena and that Nelo Angelo doesn't teleport. This arena is pretty tight-knit though and small compared to the first fight, and sometimes the camera might get in your way, but it's very much doable. You could also bring in grenade rolling if you want, but I don't think it'd be effective in this very cramped arena. Alright, grenade rolling. So let me break that down. Normally, the grenade gun has very high recoil attached to it despite its high power. But you can cancel this recoil and lag with a roll or a jump, and this increases the amount of shots you can fire by tenfold. You also recover large amounts of devil trigger with this technique, since the grenade gun is amazing for crowd control. This was that busted item I was talking about in the Phantom video that quickly recovers your DT. But back to the fight, it's super easy. Again, you just have multiple points where Nelo Angelo is available for being attacked. Those points being before or after he sends out the orb, after a well-timed jump from his attacks, whenever he's blocking, or after he does a taunt after a successful attack. Once you take advantage of these weak points, fighting Nelo Angelo really isn't bad. And once you've bested him, Nelo Angelo goes away yet again, and the next time you see him will be the last Dante will see of him in at least 2 decades. Just like the last few fights though, Nelo's, no. Virgil's attacks remain the same, but he does have one new addition, and that's the summon swords. Sometimes he'll teleport to each side of the room while levitating and send out the summon swords to attack Dante. The best strategy for this, in my experience, is just to jump because of those invulnerability frames, and rolling can definitely work too, but for some reason I get hit more often than not. Maybe jumping is just better and easier to time, who knows. But Virgil is far more aggressive in this fight than the last 2 encounters. He used to conjure up orbs like once, but now he'll do it multiple times in a row, or he'll cycle through more of his sword attacks way more often. But even with all this, the core patterns and sword moves remain the same. The summon sword addition isn't too problematic too, especially when you can do some grenade rolling to do damage while he's up there levitating. But that is all for this episode of Devil May Guide. I hope everyone enjoyed this, and I hope this helped even more people, and I really hope you're saving those Devil Stars. I know I said I didn't want to spoil what you need them for, but at the very least, I'll tell you that you need them for the final boss of the game. So please, keep a lookout for Devil Stars, and buy as much as you need. Anyways, I've been Zetaflare, and I'll see you all in the next video. Adios.
Virgil, Dante, Happy birthday. Wow! I